All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo. We're back with the Wednesday, now Tuesday, golf show with my guy Hoopster here at SHIPIT Nation. Appreciate you all joining us. This is going to be something we record Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, so you'll be able to check us out here. If you haven't yet done so on the way in, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel. Right now, pushing almost 1,600 subscribers, so we're trying for 2K, then we go from there. You guys know how this works. We'll have some more games along the way. And the chat's already asking, you can ask questions. We're going to engage like we always do. We're going to have fun with this show, breaking it all down, spend the next 45 minutes to an hour going through it. It's set up where it's going to be free on our YouTube channel. You guys can see it, ask the questions here. There will be a special members Q&A that we'll have tomorrow for the premium members. So just Hoop and myself answering your questions, community controlled content where you guys are able to get in there and say, we actually want to know this versus all the other stuff on the site. We already have everything up there. Like if you want our exact core reports, you've got those. If you want player pools, Hoop's got his up with actual exposures to the players for the top 30 that he's using on DraftKings. The slate plan with all the breakdown where I'm going through breaking down some stuff from 1 to 3 max, MME, any wave advantage, things like that we might see. All of those factors are going to be in there. And then we added our tier rankings. So it's our number 1 and number 2 play, every tier, 10K, 9K, 8K, 7K, 6K up. And then we've got our winners and our long shot bets in there as well. Plenty more action to come. I actually tested Hoop, the PGA projections. Our guy Boomer, we told you guys we would only bring it when it's ready. I'm going to post the shot in Discord later, and I'll post it this week as well. And we're going to run it for a couple more weeks before I want to unleash it. But the projections were insane last week. The downfall for me was I put too many restrictions. I used it's the big large field tournaments. I don't want to have too many guys at this ownership, all that, trying to mess around with it too much. Should have just ran the projections as they were. It was a very good week overall, almost a big week for me on Sunday. Hoop, how was your week last week? How are things going on this Tuesday afternoon, my friend?
Yeah, that Sunday sweat, I was sweating it along with you. I mean, you had to be a favorite, probably the best odds to win it at one point on Sunday, and just didn't get the birdies down the stretch, following the teams, but like we always say, I mean, you just got to keep putting yourself in position to win in these GPPs. And the more times you put yourself in position, the better chances you have to ship. Didn't go your way this week, but I have a feeling it's going to happen very soon. Same thing happened with me in MMA. It was back-to-back weeks where I kind of got just absolutely screwed on the fight that was no contest 2 weeks ago. Cost me, I think it was, like $50,000. 2 weeks before that, the Kai Kara France decision cost me. And I was talking with Title, our MMA guy, on believe Saturday before the fight started, and I said, man, I've been close. I've gotten screwed a couple times. I said, I'm gonna put myself in position again to win, and got the job done on Saturday in the MMA streets. But I have a feeling that's coming for you in PGA. I mean, you've been building teams phenomenally well, and that Sunday sweat, I was right there sweating it along with you, and fell a little short, but it's gonna come for sure. And then overall, the U.S. Open was fun to watch. I mean, it was really cool. I had the guys up top, just not the right combinations. Had a lot of Wyndham, had a lot of Rory, had a lot of Scotty. Just didn't have the right combinations. Needed, Ricky to stick in there, and I think that's what you needed with your teams as well. And he fell apart. And I'm sure that came to no one's surprise. I mean, it was the biggest spot he's been in quite some time. But he sucked on Sunday. Congrats to Wyndham. That was cool to see.
Yeah, good for him. Poor Ricky, like you said, needed him and Scheffler down the stretch. But yeah, shout out to Hoop, big heater. The chat's already talking about the MLB streets tonight. Big tournaments out there, both FanDuel, DraftKings has the Millie Maker. So Hoop, you're dialed in right now. Big heater over the weekend. For those, we saw a lot of people signed up over at ShipItNation.com. Appreciate the continued support. A lot of founding family members still in there. We're getting the job done. We added MMA. Anyone who's tuning in for the first time to know it. Like I said, we still have plenty more to come. We've got some more stuff coming at least, 2 weeks from now or so. Not going to speak on it yet, but there's some more stuff coming there. We've got MMA added, like I just said, and then we've got projections coming for PGA as well shortly. So excited about that. Like I say, there's lots of great stuff around the industry that you can get involved with. Our goal is always to give you as much as possible, and it costs as little as possible to give you competitive edge to still go up against all these other sites with these great projections and tools. We think ours are competitive enough to continue with that. They have been so far. Lots of winners last week. And Hoop, when you had your, I don't know, it was your second or third win, whatever it was, that three win stretch.
That's
a
wild.
lot of members, because I remember you won the first one in baseball. Someone would say, hey, it's awesome when the owners win and the members don't, right?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
The next one came, and it came with a bunch of members winning. So a lot of people winning a lot of money right now. SHIPITNation.com. If you want to get signed up, sign up. If you don't, that's okay. Continue to watch these free shows. We'll help you out where we can. Maybe you get a big score and join us later on. Lots going on over there at SHIPITNation.com. Hoop, we are talking the Travelers Championship this week, coming off the major, like you said, but no time to slow down, no time for any major hangovers because we're right back in. This is the last regular season, I'll call it. I mean, people call me out. I'll give you the exact stats here so people know in case they're not following along. The Travelers Championship is the last really what I would call regular season designated event. Now, the Open Championship, the final major, and then the 3 playoff events, the FedEx St. Jude, the BMW Championship, and the Tour Championship, of course, are all designated big-time field events. But of the regular season stuff, this is sort of the last one. Then we go on the run of Rocket Mortgage, John Deere, the Scottish Open, then's the Open, and then after that is the 3M Open. So a lot of Birdie Fest and stuff coming up amongst those. But this should be a good one. We have course history here. Mind you, it's a little bit, I'd say skewed in a little bit of a way just because you don't always have this type of field. Like last year was missing a bunch of the dudes from the top, but we got a really strong field. First thoughts from you, Hoop, on the Travelers Championship.
Yeah, I was excited to see this field. I did the first look show yesterday, and really was the first time I was going through the field. And it's always fun when you have a loaded field like we do. And, you know, I think the 6K range is back opened up for us a little bit. I mean, last week it was tough to find guys down there. That's definitely something that stood out to me. The 6 and the 6s and the 7s look strong again. So it gives us a chance, I think, to get exposure to some of these guys up top. And honestly, that was the first thing that stood out to me, this loaded field. And I think there's like some clear fades and stuff along the way too, which we'll kind of talk about today, but we're going to go in way more in depth in our actual written content on SHIPITNation.com. This is obviously, you know, we're going to go through the tiers and talk about it, but, you know, this isn't all of it. Like there's a lot more on the website. You know, my player pools already started working on that, the top 30-year slate plan. So this is just this is the appetizer before the main course. The main course is on the website.
Yeah, and like I said, for our members as well, we do a Discord. We'll get questions in there, and then do a Q&A show for the members tomorrow. So that'll be there, plus all the content with the final decisions. Here's where we're going to sort of break it down, run through it, make some thoughts around what we see, and then go from there. But with that said, I can start us off. Like I said, there's a little bit of history here that people have, so people will go off of that. But just an example, last year, who do we got? So no Rahm, no Hovland, no Morikawa, no Ricky, Fitz, Homa, JT, Matsuyama, Cam Young. Like just none of those guys are here, and now they are. So your point you made, I think, is key, and it is pretty interesting when looking at the early stuff. We're going to get into this first tier in a minute, but there's not really much. Like the difference between the top and the mid-range seems extensive, and not really much in the middle that you're too excited about. So I do think Stars and Scrubs is going to be the main source of what people go to, but it also may be the right source for what they should be going to, just based on everything you said and what I've seen here too. So give me your thoughts on this upper range. We'll go Cantlay up to Scotty to start things off. Cantlay 10-2. You got last year's winner here. Xander is 10-4. Rahm, Rory coming off what most would say is another letdown, and then Scotty Scheffler at the top, 11-3. Just let me down, by the way. He still had himself a pretty good week.
Yeah, man. Rory. Yeah. Someone asked a question in here. Is it available? Is it available per month? Or do you have to buy the whole year? No, definitely monthly. It's $59 for the month or $5.99 annual. It is the cheapest all-in price in the industry in terms of
the $5.99 is $49 a month for those wondering. That's why we went with that. Our original offer of $49, we did it for 1 week. It was whoever was coming out of the gate full on support. We appreciate them and everybody that came along for that ride, but that price won't come back. The only way to get it now is at the $5.99 to lock it in that way. Sorry, Hoop, go ahead.
No, it's a great way to look at it. And then, we did it intentionally. So if you want the bargain, first guy in type price, well, at this point, you got to do the annual. It equates to 49. It's by far the cheapest price in the industry in terms of what you get. Upper range here, obviously a loaded range. I mean, very, very loaded. Scotty, Rory, Rahm, Schauffele, and Cantlay. You got to make some decisions up there, tough decisions. It's going to be hard to get overweight on all these guys unless you go all in like stars and scrubs. I'm going to continue to build my teams under the guidance that Scotty Scheffler is just in a tier of his own. I think that is the case. I think that's true. You look at the recent results. It's just, I rattle it off every week on the show. It's just insane. I mean, he doesn't have the wins. But man, he has some wins, but not as many as you'd think you'd have. It just literally comes down to the putting. Like if he ever makes a couple putts, it's probably game over. He is going to have an event at some point where he just dusts the field. It's going to happen where he just absolutely dusts the field. Could it be this week? It could be any week. If he putts well, it's over. Third at the U.S. Open, third, second, fifth, 11th, 10th, first, fourth, 12th, first, 11th, 7th, second, 9th, third. Dating back to November. Just absolutely insane. The floor is super high. The ceiling is super high. Yes, we would have liked to see him win some more events during that stretch. But you take the top 5. And if he finishes top 5 again this week, likely in the optimal, he's just in a tier of his own. Rory, I think it was kind of a letdown. I mean, that's something where someone of Rory's caliber should have gone out and gotten the win. Did obviously finish second. He's starting to play well again. 7th, 9th, 2nd. He was 9,900 last week. Now he's 10-9. Can I play him over Scotty? I don't think I can. I really don't. So that's kind of where I'm at. John Rahm, I think, again, has a chance to go a little overlooked. He was not in contention really at all last week, and then fires the big round 4 to get him up into, where did he finish? 10th place, I believe. Yeah, finished 10th last week. I always got to have a little bit of John Rahm. So, my exact ownership will be displayed on our content over at shipitnation.com. And then you have Xander and Cantlay. Can you play both? Yeah, sure you can. I think I'd probably prefer Cantlay. It's saving you, $200, which isn't much. Didn't really like what I saw from Xander over the weekend. Was not very sharp with his game, kind of a letdown there. So probably Cantlay over Schauffele for me. Obviously, we'll continue to ride the Scotty Scheffler heater. And then, John Rahm, I think I probably want a little bit. And again, I just don't think his ownership is going to be all that much. So it should be easy to get an adequate amount of John Rahm this week.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about all this in a second and my take on it. But this is our guy, Kevin, who's very good at PGA DFS. He says, Zach Johnson, Kevin Kisner, Ches Reavie, oh boy. Maybe Reavie I could get talked into. The other two, I just don't think you need to go that far. And I doubt he's really actually suggesting them. But just to make note, for those that are thinking that is the thing. So that's where I'm going to start. The reason I brought that up was kind of a good segue for me. All the conversation about the course history here and how it matters so much. And we've seen it all. Will there still be guys up there on Sunday that have good course history here? Yes, it's just the way it's going to go. But it's not something I'm baking in as much because, like I said, I don't believe it's as, what's the word, like sticky as some say, like as you would think, because at the end of the day, it wasn't really the same class of field that we're looking at. I rattled off like 15 strong names at the beginning. And the second point to that, Hoop, and just to bring it up, because I think it is really the decisions you're making up top that matter the most this week. Even if you are going to start with like a Scotty and go down, I built lineups that are Scotty Rahm, no problem already, just messing around before hopping on. But here's the thing. I mentioned all the guys that didn't play it. I'm skipping this upper range for 2 seconds to go Hovland down to, let's say, Lowry, if you will, just to give an example here. Probably even, let's go down to Siwoo just to be safe here. Okay, real quickly, rattle them off. Siwoo, miscut the last 2 years. Tom Kim hasn't played it ever. Lowry never played it ever. Thigala got second last year. We'll talk about him in a second. His ownership looks to be off the charts, and this is only Tuesday, so we'll see about that. Miscut for Jason Day last year. Hideki, Cam Young, never seen it. Sungjae didn't play it the last 2 years, was 58th the year before that. JT didn't play it the last 2 years, miscut before that. Homa didn't play it last year, 3 miscuts the year before that. And then to rattle the last ones off quick, Fitzpatrick, this is of the last 2 to 3 years. Fitzpatrick miscut, Ricky Fowler, 2 miscuts, Wyndham Clark, 35th and 2 miscuts, Fleetwood 46th. There's no results from any of these guys. They either have never seen it or they sucked when they were here. So I definitely don't think there's a problem with just rolling with these guys up top and making those decisions. Obviously, your contrarian lineups would just to be go against that and find the guys that you think are in better form right now and pay premiums on them, because Ricky's price up, Fleetwood up, Wyndham Clark up 9,200 coming off a major win. Morikawa finally showed something even during the back injury, but price is up. Finau hasn't done shit. Price is up. Like, all these guys really have it. So I think you got to make that decision. Scotty, to me, far and away at the top. If he finally has a breakdown at some point where he's just played so much and doesn't come through, then fine. I think it's way more likely, to your point, after a fifth, second, third, that he comes through and actually just dusts the field. Like you said, will it be this week? I don't know, but I definitely feel safe just playing him any course, any time right now. And I don't think he's really affected at all by last week. Like, came in, just got another third place, probably the same feeling. I mean, it would be the same thing. I know it's a major, but he left it all out there at the Charles Schwab. He left it all out there at the Memorial. He left it out there on that short putt at the match play back when. Like, all of these events, it's not phasing him at all. He's just going out and continuing to do what he does. So Scotty, Rahm, my favorite two up top. I think you actually could see, I know the ownership out on some sites right now shows Xander up there a little bit. I don't see that happening. I actually see the defending champion being slightly squeezed by Cantlay, who everybody loves to play. Obviously, you go look at him here, going now to rattle some good numbers off. 13th, 13th, 11th, 15th, and 15th. The stats will say it too. So I think people are much more comfortable with Cantlay and just going on the narrative of Xander won't go back-to-back, and he's 10-4. And then you've got Rahm right above him, Cantlay right below. So I see that shaking out a little bit differently there in that spot. Anything else you want to talk about up here? Anything to add on to my points with just the stars and scrubs approach? Because sometimes it's just the right way to do it. And really, I think you could still use the guy up top and still just get into like 1 9K or 1 8K versus it feels like some people want to play 2 9K guys here.
Yeah, chat's kind of on point. I mean, there was a comment already in there. I feel like this course fits more stars and scrubs with the shortness leading to more people having a chance of winning. Yeah, I mean, the way this course is set up, it's going to bring more guys into the conversation. If we're talking a 7,600 yard course where you need the bombers and stuff, there's only a certain finite number of guys that can win. This one opens it up to a lot. So I think that is a good point. It's definitely a way to build teams. And then one other comment I wanted to touch on, which I thought was a good one, is fatigue real in golf. You know, Clark, Rory, Ricky having motivation to play good this week. It's a case-by-case basis as far as I'm concerned. I mean, do you think it affects these guys? A guy like Scotty Scheffler, I mean, nothing really affects him. He's just coming out and doing his thing every single week. We'll talk about these other guys for sure. You know, when we get to Clark and Ricky, I have some pretty strong opinions on what to expect out of them this week. But honestly, I think it's case-by-case basis in terms of, you know, fatigue and motivation and all that stuff. So yeah, in this upper range, this 10K range, I think we're kind of in lockstep. Like, Scotty is just now in a tier of his own. You know, Xander and Cantlay, probably similar ownership, I'd say. You know, probably upper teens or so. And then I think Rahm has a chance to go overlooked again. And you and I are Rahm guys, and I have a feeling we're both going to be riding. Yeah,
and one last thing too, like Rory has to be going overlooked too, just because of what we just said. Like, when you're already going to Scotty or Rory, at this point, again, it's funny because the results are like Rory 2nd, 9th, 7th, Scotty 3rd, but it just still, you got to have Scotty far and away here. And if Rory comes through, so be it. But I get why people would go there in tournaments. If you landed on like a 2v2 or something like that, I can see it. But for me, it's Scotty, Rahm ahead of Rory. And then after that, I guess you would look at Cantlay or drop down, but that's really how I see it shaking out. Go ahead.
Yeah, double Toppy. I mean, he said he just subbed. Sorry, guys, it took me so long. Hey, it's on you. You missed out on a lot of winners in the past month, but hey, we're gonna make it up for you here. We're gonna continue to provide those winners so everyone can get to the top of these GPPs.
Yeah, let's go to this next range. Let's my guy Jordan's coming through too for me again. Forget when we go on these shows, we got to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, helps us out. And then obviously we're on the run for 2K right now. We started slow, got our back up pretty quickly to 1,000, and now we're going for 2,000. So the run continues. But let's talk about this 9K range, Hoop, because the one thing I said is, like, as much as stars and scrubs is what people are saying and what it definitely feels like is the best way to go and looks right on paper, somehow you're still seeing like 14% Hovland early, 15 to 17% Morikawa, 17 to 20% Fleetwood, Fowler's still getting the love on the run that he's been on. So what are we doing here in this 9K range? How do you see this shaking out?
Yeah, Hovland's a tricky one for me. I mean, I guess 9-9 for him. He's been playing really well. He's been obviously playing really well in these elevated events. But man, it's, to me, with him, it's going to come down to roster construction. When I build my teams, what can I do? And I'm not going to know that until probably tomorrow afternoon. So I still don't know what I'm going to do with Hovland. Finau, I think, is an interesting one at 9-7. I mean, just continues to he was up there. He's kind of similar to Xander last week, where the weekend hit and it was just he kind of took himself out of it. He was right there a few strokes back and then just couldn't get anything going. I think I do want some exposure to him though at 9-7. He can't be all that highly owned with how poorly he's been playing.
Low, right? I'm seeing 10 to 12 right now, and I don't know if he can even possibly get late steam because of Cantlay, Morikawa, Fleetwood, Fowler. Like, how does he get it? It doesn't make any sense. He's been doing nothing.
Yeah, so maybe some of him. Morikawa is one where this course should fit him really well. I'm not. We always talk about I'm not necessarily a Morikawa guy. And you look at the recent results, have not been awesome. I mean, 14th at the U.S. Open last week. Like, is 14th good enough for a 9.5K guy? Probably not, but I think this course brings him into play a little bit more where accuracy is going to be rewarded. I will say, though, me and Morikawa have a bad track record together. When I'm on him, things don't go that well. But I think I'm going to have to play some of him this week. Fleetwood, I'll keep riding. I mean, was just kind of lingering a little bit all week. Nothing special. And then, boom, fires at 63 to get T5. He's just been playing phenomenal golf overall. The one blemish was that missed cut at the Charles Schwab, but he's been on point. So maybe he carries some of that momentum from round 4 over into today and this week. The odds are pretty good, like 25-1 for him to win this week. And then you got the situation with Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler. What do you do here? I'm not playing Wyndham after last week. I mean, there's no way he can be focused on this event. Is he good enough to come out and compete? Yeah. Would it surprise me? No, probably wouldn't if he was fine this week. But for my money, I'll be going elsewhere. And this is like the highest price tag we've seen on Wyndham Clark, especially like an elevated event. Wyndham Clark is typically like 7,500, 7,600, elevated events and majors. Like, I don't think he's ever seen this sort of price tag with his field. Now, does he deserve it? Yeah, he's been playing great, but I'll be going elsewhere. Probably the same with Ricky. I mean, it's been a great run for him, and last week had to take an emotional toll on him a little bit. So I don't think I can get there. But a guy I do like is Matt Fitzpatrick. 9K flat seems like a good price tag. I think he could probably be a few $100s more in this field. I haven't had a good read on him lately, but we're starting to see some consistency now. Again, played well basically every round last week, 71, 70, 68, 70. I think he could surprise us this week and contend. So I'm very interested in Fitzpatrick here.
Yeah, I'm not picking on my guy, Kevin. This is my boy, but he says this about Hovland. It's just not right. Like, Hovland had 3 out of 4 weeks off golf, came back, got second, 16th, and then got the win. It's not like these guys aren't taking breaks. The other thing about Scotty, people are saying, he played 5 of the last 6 weeks or whatever, but he took the break. He took the Canadian Open off, got a week off, got in gear for the major, comes out and finishes third, where, again, if he just made some putts down the stretch, he could have been in a playoff. Or if he had been, made 2 more birdies and Wyndham bogeys, it's like they're in a playoff. And then you got to give Scotty the huge edge there and the pressure of Wyndham going up against the world number 1 or something. So just to say it, like, again, these guys have still had breaks. Some guys that were playing right through. I think that was more like the Sung Jae Im factor, where he got the win in Korea that no one even knows about or cares about, and then came back, and we all liked him that 1 week. I like him every week, but we all liked him that 1 week. He failed, and then it's been a bit of a downward spiral since then. So I think that's something. And then Jack, my other guy, he says we're seeing any weather edge this week, guys. Looks wet Friday and over the weekend. So I will bring it up real quick because that's a good segue before give my takes here in the 9K range. Again, early in the week, it's Tuesday, but Thursday right now looks like there is some wind in the morning, at least heavier gusts, and then it's a little bit colder and all of that. And then also too, you always like the mornings here. So again, I might go after it. It worked. It didn't work last week. It was an edge last week. It was almost a 2-stroke advantage to PMAM. It didn't work because some of the guys up the top of the board, again, why I said you could go 5-1 or 4-2, things like that we talk about in the slate plan over at shipitnation.com. And in the Discord, that's where you're setting it up with having some with the other, almost like the year JT won the PGA championship, yet the wave was heavily in the favor of the other side. So you can do that. But here, the AM on Friday right now looks like absolutely no wind at all. Temps are higher than they are on Thursday morning, similar to Thursday afternoon, and a little bit of rain down overnight. So if you could have that set up, I mean, it's definitely something I'm keeping an eye on, again, in the Discord, over in the slate plan on the site. That's the premium content that people are coming over for in golf. These shows trying to give you guys as much information as possible to get you set up for success. If you aren't a member yet, or just have no plans of doing so at this time, that's fine. Check out the free show. If you'll find something you like, I always say this, and people have said to me in the past, I love your free content. If you like our free stuff, you're probably really going to like the stuff that you pay for, because there's a lot over there, and we are just continuously trying to add as much value as possible. The Discord is incredible too, Jack, or somebody else spoke on it earlier, just saying how well the Discord is set up, and people just love it right now. So check us out. If you guys have any more questions, you can always hit me up directly. But going back to this 9K range hoop, Hovland and Finau at the top, kind of the guys I have interest in, versus I think the current public is on Morikawa, Fleetwood, and Fowler. And I get why. Obviously, the situational stuff, how they're playing, coming off looking good, all that stuff. I think you could see it where it's a reason that people are going to go there. But when you look at the ownership that likely comes with it, I would just take my chances, or I would go down in that 8K range. And there's some guys we're going to talk about in there. So I got no problem. If you do want to go like a Scotty Fleetwood, I'm fine. Like, I'm not using these guys. I'm just saying they're not the guys I like the most. And again, it all depends on your roster construction. Tomorrow on the Mayo Media Network, myself and Pat, we'll go through. We will break down what the general public lineup looks like, or what the highest ownership lineup looks like on a Wednesday around lunchtime. And then we'll be able to break it down and see some tournament setups from there. So check that show out. It is free as well, so you guys can check that one out tomorrow. But for me, the guys up top, again, who not who you play, how you play them, Morikawa, the Fleetwoods, the Rickies. If you land there on like a 2v2, it's really tough to say what's what. But I would have no problem with it. Finau, for some reason, just stands out to me just as a guy that, again, he hasn't been doing much lately. The 32nd place, before that was a miscut and a 72nd, but it's not too far removed from him being pretty good. So I don't hate going to a guy like Finau here. Hovland, like our guy Kevin talked about, just won, played really well at the PGA Championship, all that. So I definitely think that it's a good spot to be in for these guys up top, and it just gets you in a naturally different roster construction than people that are going to be on Morikawa, Fleetwood, and Ricky Fowler. Don't hate your Fitzpatrick call. We'll see how that one shakes out by tomorrow afternoon. But for me, right now, it's the guys up at the top. Anything else in this range for you? If not, we can move on to these 8Ks.
Yeah, so like Hovland versus Finau for you? Like, what are you Finau?
Pretty equal, but I think I would take a shot on Finau. Hovland actually does stand out better, but I just worry the closer we get to it, he's got the best buy pricing, everything that goes with it. It is interesting. And Finau seemingly can, he's a similar guy that we're about to talk about, guys like Max Homa and JT and spots that Cam Young and them that just haven't been doing anything. Finau's almost the same. So some would make the argument, why don't you just pop down to the next range? But when you actually look, just go back just a few more weeks with Finau, at least he was still doing something. Hovland fits in that to your original question, obviously winning and coming second at the PGA, but that's why it's really those two and then the guys up top for the stars and scrubs versus jumping into this next range that looks pretty busy with Morikawa, Fleetwood, and Fowler all being in there. I like your Fitzpatrick call for that reason, sort of splitting the difference right there at the bottom.
Yeah, the 8K range, man, it's like home on JT up there. JT, I mean, I've talked about it for the last, 3 weeks. Like, it's just too broken right now. It is just too broken. I feel like a broken record because I keep saying the same thing, but it's the truth, and it keeps playing out that way. And he already needs a lot to go in his right direction in order to be successful, and it just is all off right now. He shot a freaking 81 round two when the conditions weren't even like super, super difficult. He is just so far off his game right now. And will he come back? Yeah, I think he will at some point, but I think it's going to be a gradual comeback where we see him make a cut and finish 50th. And we see him get into the 40s or 30s and then the 20s and then maybe a top 10. He's a candidate to maybe just take some time off and figure it out. To me, like, he is just, it has to be like the easiest fade on this entire slate. Homa, though, on the other hand, I will play a little bit of home at 8.9K. Has had some recent success. I mean, prior to this, a 9th at the Charles Schwab, an 8th at the Wells Fargo. Obviously missed the cut, really struggled round 2. I mean, it was one bad round. He shot a 68 round 1, but big boy score round 2 took him out of it, the 76. So I will give him a chance. Should be pretty low owned. Sung Jae, I don't know. I'm not even going to talk about him. I'm sure you'll have some stuff to say about him. No comment on Sung Jae. I'm doing what you're doing. All right. If you're playing him, I'm playing him. If you're fading him, I'm fading him. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, right. It's been bad lately, man. It really has. But now
you're playing him, though.
They have to bring more narratives into the mix for me. He's got Willie Wilcox on the bag, so I like that. A former golfer that we all followed, a big guy. He was like one of the first golfers on golf Twitter that would just have some fun with people. Yeah, I think he actually had a sponsorship with DraftKings way back in the day. And just interesting note, but. Yeah, Kevin's on it. Willie Wilcox.
That guy, the guy that used to play him. Yeah, we played him a couple times.
Yeah, definitely, man. So you got to have a little bit of good mojo. He's going to turn it around. So, Kim knows the intervention is definitely on, but I canceled it. I said, I won't show up when you guys try and invite me to the little party and tell me it's just going to be this. I know what you're inviting me to, so I'm just not showing up. I'm naturally just steering and going the other way. So. Some interesting stuff though in this range, I think for sure. Like I said, the nice part about this is what it is. Like there's boom bust candidates in here. People are playing Thigala. People are playing Hideki. Hideki looked awesome over the weekend. Hideki actually looks extremely mispriced when you consider some of the stuff around him, like you just talked about. Homa, Thomas, Cam Young, even Jason Day. Since he got the win, it's really tough to wonder why is Matsuyama, who was my main core piece on, I think it was whatever it was, round 2 or round 3, where he almost broke the slate and went off because it just didn't make sense to me. He gained almost 5 strokes on approach, gained on like 75% of the holes, lost almost 3 strokes putting, and left every single par 5 out there, and still wasn't even in like the top 7 or 8 owned on the slate, and was in the prime position with tee time and everything. To me, it was just nuts. And played a bunch of him that day, had some close calls. So, going back to him makes sense. Obviously, the ownership is going to go up with that. This is the thing, though, Hoop. It has to be the spot. Maybe I'm just trying to manifest this. Everyone's in on Hideki here, and for great reason, like we just talked about. And who comes in over the top for $100 more with Willie Wilcox on the bag? Sungjae Im, baby. He's back. And the course makes so much sense for Sungjae. That's the thing that you got to remember. Again, looking at it, it probably isn't going to pop heavily. And even on the long-term stuff, Sungjae still shows out a little bit more. But when you just think about the birdie making, hitting the fairways, the approach game, the thing is the approach has been a little off lately. Let me just pull it up here live while we're on. I want to get an actual look at it. They said he got
one thing I just wanted to add on when you're talking about the showdown stuff. I mean, I'd say we're both pretty humble guys, but I got to pat ourselves on the back. I mean, we dominated round 2, 3, and then you were right there for round 4. Like the analysis for both those rounds 2 and 3 were like spot on. I made money every single showdown slate, nothing substantial, didn't get the big shipper, but profited on all the slates, which was a good feeling. I know the content was fully aligned with that too.
Don't forget round 4 where
that's what I'm saying.
23% owned Nagano, didn't even make the player pool over at SHIPIT Nation, but we did have Jordan Smith, we did have Austin Eckroat, we did have Tommy Fleetwood, we had guys that ended up being the nuts. So that's the spot to be. And guys in the chat wondering, don't worry. We're going to have to start putting a timestamp for Tambo talks about Sungjae Im. You guys can just skip over it. But, yeah, it didn't get much better. His approach, losing 3 of the last 4. I mean, that is a problem for sure. It probably should just be a stay away. But I'm just, like I said, I have to do it.
Here's what we'll do. We'll just pretend like he's not in the player pool every week, and then you can do a YouTube Shorts video for your Sungjae analysis. Yeah, right?
That's what it'll be. We'll change it up.
Yeah, in honor of working side by side with you on the PGA product, I will play a little Sungjae.
Okay, now this is the one-liner the whole world's been waiting for that I just came up with right now. Sungjae Im's initials, SI. Ship it, baby. Let's go. Okay. Sungjae Im. That's our dude, man. You can't even make this stuff up, man. You just think about it on the fly. Sungjae Im is our dude. But other than that, you know what you're getting in this range. It's boom bust. I like the dudes at the bottom. I like my guy Kenny Kim. He talks about he's going back to some more of Sungjae and his Korean brethren. Tom Kim, Siwoo Kim down there at the bottom. This is a good spot. I like Siwoo quite a bit. Pete Dye specialist in his own rights. Obviously a player's champion Tom Kim, a Wyndham champion, a guy that like that's a course that people would put this up against. So I definitely think both those guys at the bottom look good. I actually have a really hard time this week. I know the whole world loves him. If you got him at 90-1 and bet him, I actually totally understand it. And I'm talking about Sahith Theegala. I know he came second here last year, and he's coming in. What did he end up finishing at? 27th or something like that? But man, this range to me is just so loaded. I love Sahith. He should have won last year. He made that mistake down the stretch. I thought he was winning, and then he put it into the bunker, ends up losing to Xander by a couple. It's like, man, the guy's been unlucky. At the Waste Management, he was pretty unlucky too. Got that bounce on the short par 4, 17th hole. The bounce, I thought it would stay up. It didn't. It went down. He was in tears after. Obviously, I love Sahith Theegala. I cheer for the guy. I think he's an incredible dude. Fun to watch. I really do struggle if he's going to be the guy in this range that gets all the ownership with Hideki, and we have all these big names around him that can easily turn it around. And to your Max Homa point, you can give this guy a pass, I think, man. 9th and 8th in 2 of his last 3 finishes. He always sucks at majors. He's not done well at any of the majors, so he makes fun of himself for it. But I think he's the guy that can just bounce back quickly. And to me, there's so many guys in this range that you could go to. I like those 2 at the bottom, Tom Kim, Siwoo Kim, Sungjae Im, and then maybe Max Homa. So that's sort of where I'm at in this range. Anybody else you want to talk about before we move on?
Yeah, I think we're in lockstep. Like, some Homa, Matsuyama, Kim, and then the thing with Sahith that is now going to stick out in my head every single week is what we saw last week, where in my eyes, I did not envision him having that sort of ownership. He's a guy that gets ownership every week. I mean, I think what I think. Just bump it up like 5, 6, 7, 8%. And that's enough where I can just find other guys in this range, even Shane Lowry or something. Do you like him at all, by the way, Lowry?
Yeah, he's actually not bad either, I guess. I would definitely consider him here. Yeah. And the nice part about the guys at the bottom range is, like I said, if you go, for example, me and Mayo will do this tomorrow. Mayo and I, if I'm using good English here, we'll do this tomorrow. But if you go Scotty, Lowry, Siwoo, you can still build an awesome lineup. And what did you do? You're like, what FOMO do you really have when it's like, Sungjae, JT, Homa, Fitzpatrick, Clark, Tommy Fleetwood? There's some that you'll have, but it's not like you skip this killer range that you feel like, damn, I'm missing all the best guys. You have the best guy. You have Scotty at the top, and now you're adding in 2 dudes down here that to me can still show out and come play a course like this just fine. So yeah, I don't mind that call down at the bottom either.
Yeah, and then, I think we're pretty much in lockstep in this 8K range.
And just a quick question. Someone asked about this. Everyone always looks for the magic answer to this or the settings. It's really player dependent. I know guys that play 18-man pools. STL Cards, used to work with him at Roto Grinders. Great guy. He plays 18 to 24 guys. He separates them perfectly. It's amazing. He's won tons of GPPs playing a small pool like that because guess what? When the guys get through, he's got them all, and then you've got a high 6-6 rate when most people are at a 5 to 10% rate, and then you're killing it at the top because you've got so many combinations to get up there. But when you have a bad week, you're probably losing all the money because every lineup you have is a 5-6 or a 4-6. You don't have any 6-6s. You probably lose all the cash, and if you're in for $22.50 or something in a max entry tournament like that, then you are going to be in trouble for your money for that week. But you're only playing to have these spike weeks or these bigger weeks. So I think that's that part. I've also seen guys and great players, top tournament players in the world, use 60 to 95 guys where they're just letting everything trickle in. They're letting their simulations or their projections do the work, take what they get, and then go from there and still find their way to the top on a random use case where the 1% owned guy, a guy that they only had 1% of that ends up being in the top 5 is the difference maker for them in that lineup. So it's really a risk versus reward question. There is no magic answer. I'll typically spread it out, but it depends also too on some situational stuff. Like if there's going to be a wave stacking spot where I might stack a little of both sides, people say, well, you use 65 guys this week. But really, I still have the ownership is on like 15 to 20 guys at the top. And then it's trickling down from that 5 to 15% range as we go down, maybe some 3%ers at the bottom, stuff like that. So to each their own. We do talk about a lot of this stuff over at SHIPIT Nation in the Discord. People are asking these questions, trying to help guide them through, get them on the right path. The main thing is everyone says, trust the process, go, do this, but most people don't even have a process to start with. That's why you have to have some ideas, some thoughts. You have to have some theories around, what your goals and intentions are in going out and playing these tournaments or these single entries or 3 max. That's what we really try and help people with. We talk about it all the time. SHIPIT Nation, education, innovation. We're trying to do things different. We're trying to help you learn about the game. That's really what it comes down to. Hoop, 7,500 and up, man. Let's keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, another week where the 7Ks, I mean, a lot of appealing options. Starts right at the top for me, like Adam Scott. It was not great at the U.S. Open, but, man, just what would his price be if he finished, like, 15th last week? He would be in the 8Ks, probably maybe upper 8Ks, because that would be, like, 6 straight weeks where he golfed really, really well. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open. Now he's down to 7.9K. Very interested. Russell Henley, you've talked about him a lot on these shows. He's been really, really good lately outside of the miscut at the PGA Championship, where you can kind of give him a free pass. Like, that sort of setup is not, really good for his game. 7-8, strong option. Keegan should be pretty low owned at 7-8. I kind of always play him. It has not worked out very well recently. It didn't work out last week. Harris English. The thing I like about English, when he makes the cut, man, he tends to have pretty good finishes. We've seen a 3rd, a 12th, and an 8th in 3 out of his last 5 events, kind of coming back to life. Corey Connors seems too cheap. Maybe it's just me because, obviously I have a thing for these Canadian golfers, but 7-7, like I feel like he could be a little more expensive. You have Min Woo, Denny McCarthy. The Harmon thing, he's looking like the guy that's getting the most ownership, and that's the one that I could be off of. Hasn't really been playing well, was fine last week, but fell apart. I mean, he had one good round. I mean, he shot the 65 round one, then 73, 72, 75. If he's the guy that's going to be popular, like, I'm fine looking elsewhere. There's a ton of guys.
He's the course history king, though, right?
Course history, yeah, I get all that, but he was better last year. He was better 2 years ago. Like, he's not the same guy this year. But I get the course history thing. I've been playing Benny on, going to continue to do that. I mean, there's a lot of guys for me in this range. And I'll be here a lot with the way I plan on building teams. But if Harmon's going to be the guy here, I can definitely look elsewhere.
Yeah, the Harmon Major. Somebody said in the chat, 8th, 5th, miscut, 8th, 6th, the last 5 years here. Yeah. Again, fields much different in strength of field and everything that he was going up against. But just in general, I get why people go there. But there is some interesting stuff in this range, actually, that I want to talk about. So, two things I was going to mention. Who is this, though? Who withdrew from the U.S. Open qual? Oh, Benny An. Benny An. Sorry, you talked about him real quick. Just a mention on him. Remember, he was in the U.S. Open qualifier to try and get in. He WD'd. Everyone thought, like, the norm, like, if you just suck for the first 9 holes, bail and get out of there, like, it's just not going to happen. Why would you grind the rest? But that was the thing. I think he was only like 1 or 2 over, so people were thinking about it, and then he ended up WDing and said it was his back or something. So, again, I don't care about that stuff as much, but for some to monitor, if they didn't remember that piece of information, I think that's pretty good to think about. Some of my notes, I don't know why they got moved around, but Denny McCarthy, a guy in this range, has been very good in these designated events. I think he's pretty interesting in this spot. I like the Corey Connors call that you had. This thing has me super worried. Actually, two guys I don't like that you said and others have talked at least a little bit about. Harris English. He won it 2 years ago. He came 19th last year. He's been good in U.S. Open, so last week looks pretty solid. But again, with him just coming in, there's so many guys in this range. I don't fade just because of ownership, but if there's ownership and I like 5 to 6 other guys around him, that's just how I play. So I would not have a problem going against him. Adam Scott, I'm good going back against him. I've talked about this plenty of times. He has been better lately, but in the stronger fields, like last week, you go look at it, miscut. Him, guys like Jason Day, some of those guys have worried me. They've backed off a little bit now, and that kind of concerns me some. The one guy that concerns me, it got to be the most probably, because he looks so good on paper, and maybe he just is, and he should make the cut. It's just, what does he do after that? Is Russell Henley. Maybe it's because he's only $100 more than Justin Rose was last week, who completely burned everybody, myself included. But, man, it's just an interesting thing. And then the other thing, I was trying to look this up. Keegan coming off the miscut. Before it, though, 30th, 29th, 35th. Here, 19th last year. He's got a 2nd and an 8th in 2 of the last 5 years. And usually when we get Keegan going back out to the East Coast, this is in Connecticut. Like, this is a spot you want to be playing Keegan, yet everybody's going to Scott, Henley, English, McCarthy, Connors. It's all getting spread out. I just don't see Keegan getting a lot of love just yet. So I kind of like Keegan here in this spot up top as well. And then Gary Woodland, Min Woo, and my guy Steven Yeager were some of the guys I was considering. Again, not saying I'm in on all those guys, but right now having a look at those guys. Min Woo probably getting maybe what you could call over-owned. He's obviously been playing incredible golf. He's shown up in all these top events. But again, you never know what it's going to look like. So I don't hate it going to some of the other guys in this range. And then Jagerbom's at 7,500. I'm always in on him. I like him in this spot.
Yeah, it's a pretty loaded range. I mean, you can really make some sort of case, I'd say, for everybody whether you like them or not. Whether you like them or not, you can make the case, I think, for just about everyone here. So it makes it appealing and interesting for tournaments for sure.
And just to chime in, but I mean, that's the one thing I would say is I agree with you. And that's why it becomes tough to then say, I'm playing this guy because this, or I'm playing this guy because of that. When they're getting the ownership going with them, it just makes it for a good spot. I'll talk more on the site and the slate plan about this, where it may feel like you're making a mistake or you're worried about, but I don't want to leave this guy out. But you just made the point, and I just made the point on these are still good plays around them, and you're getting them at half the ownership in some cases. What's the real major difference? Not that much, and anybody can pop at any given time in this spot. So I think this is a good range to either get different in, or because there's going to be love for a few guys in here from Harman, Connor's late steam, probably English getting love even more than Connor's, and then Henley. Plus you've got Siwoo and Tom Kim and those guys getting a little love. It's a good range that you could just skip over as well, right? If you wanted to get a little bit different in single entry or in your 3 max, mix one of those types of lineups in. I don't hate that either.
Yeah, it has to be a lot of ownership here. I mean, it's just a mix of guys playing well, guys that appear to be underpriced, that sort of thing. So, yeah, a lot of ownership will definitely come in this upper sevens.
All right, let's take us to the next range. Go ahead, 7,400 down to 7K.
Yeah, more appealing plays for me. I mean, I guess, less ownership on these guys, I think, overall than the guys we just talked about. Our guy Aberg, 7.4K, was fine at the Canadian Open, finished 25th. Cool going back to him at 7.4, and much cheaper too. Obviously, this field is stronger, but I think it was like in the 8K range at the Canadian Open. Now 7.4. I'll keep playing Eric Cole. I know you're going to tell me it's all putting, blah blah blah. I get it, but I'm gonna stay on him at 7.3. Your guy that almost got the job done for you. I mean, Austin Eckroat is on like an incredible run here. I mean, you look at it: 6 straight made cuts. 10th last week, 30th at the Memorial, 16th at the Charles Schwab, 2nd at the Byron Nelson. So, we've seen the success at the weaker field events, but last 2 big boy events, 30th at the Memorial, 10th at the U.S. Open. And I know a lot of it was last week, a lot of it was what he did round 4, but that's fine. A lot of guys fell apart round 4, and he put up a nice score. So I'm very interested in him at 7.3. Andrew Putnam, 7.2, been playing pretty well. Justin Suh, 7.2. We've been talking about him a lot. I think he's a really strong option. 4 straight made cuts, 4 straight. 26 at the PGA Championship, 41st at the Memorial, and 27th at the U.S. Open. So he's having success not only at some of these weaker field events, but he's now finding success at the big boy events. And I think that, a lot can be said about that. So 7.2 in on him. Dietrich at 7.1, I think, somewhat interesting. A guy that tends to make cuts. My guy Sam Bennett, I know you're probably going to hate on him too, but interested at 7K.
Well, we're on you for just 1 sec. I didn't get to see the round on Saturday. How did that go? Everyone told me on Friday this guy's the GOAT. What happened on Saturday? I missed that round.
Let's see. Saturday, 79. Wow. Yeah, he had
wow.
Yeah.
Really?
But hey. Made cut.
Saved off the little chin unit and then came out on the weekend and couldn't find it. Is that what happened?
He rebounded a little bit. 71, not too bad on Sunday. Not too bad. Everyone has a bad round here or there, right?
Okay. That people are saying that's what it is, the beard. But I just had to check. I was just making sure this guy was declared the winner on Thursday or Friday. He's just the best in the game. So we'll see.
He's going to do the job for us this week, though, at 7K. We'll
I make fun of him. Everyone will get it, I'm sure, but he's obviously super talented. I'm just messing around, but it's more fun when you're going against somebody than agreeing with them all the time. So I gotta be against.
You got to put me in my place a little bit. I get it.
Mayo loves him too, so it's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah, you're getting. I mean, so like 90% of your time talking about PGA DFS, you're getting hammered the same side. So I get it.
Yeah.
Svensson 7K, Bramlett, CT Pan. Back-to-back good starts. What do you get? 4th at the Byron Nelson, 3rd at the RBC Canadian Open. There's plays down here. A lot of solid options, I think.
Because people asked about Pandemonium at 7K, And now our guy Jason coming through. Bader Bear in the Discord. He says CT Pan hasn't been good at the Travelers. And this goes also with one more comment. I love bringing these up. Maurice, which is more prevalent, the course history or the recent form? We'll find out. We'll definitely find out because
$1 million question.
Rubber meets the road here because, look, there's going to be guys that you can make the narrative or the argument on Sunday that say, oh, it looks like course history showed up. This name's up there. Now, if the whole board is littered with them, then that's your answer. But I'm just saying in general, that's one thing I'm looking at just a little bit differently this week is I do think that stuff matters, strength of field. It wasn't like the worst field last year anyway. I'm just saying it's definitely fully loaded this year up at the top. So, something to think about here for this week. But CT Pan is a guy that I've heard people mention. I know people have bet, has been playing good golf last couple times out, a third and a fourth. Back in the day here, I guess was okay, but 3 missed cuts in a row at this course. So again, that'll be a good one to answer your question on. And then they want a side bet here, Hoop. They want us to bet. Would you let me have Aberg versus Bennett?
I think Aberg is the better. I mean, again, I don't know a ton about these guys, but it seems like Aberg's much better, and it's reflected in the odds and DK price every week that they've played together. So no.
So you won't take that one.
No.
All right. I'll take that one. If Mayo might want a little action tomorrow because I don't think anyone cares that much. And really, like I said, Sam Bennett is obviously extremely talented. The things I didn't like about him were that he plays extremely slow, acts pretty cocky for what we've seen, not too much yet on the PGA side of things. Great showing at the Masters, good to make the cut at the US Open, but it's not like he's sort of broken the wall down. It's too early. So we'll wait and see. But for me, and Jason says that I mentioned that last night on the Fantasy Golf Degenerate. So we got to bring up Thorbjornsen, who's actually cheaper than both of those guys and already came here fourth last year. So interesting when we get there. Anybody else in the 7K range you want to mention, Hoop? Because I'm going to mention a few, but anybody else you got?
Yeah, no, just a lot of guys here. I mean, there's a lot of guys for me from 7-9 all the way down to 7. I mean, it's a loaded range, I'd say.
Yeah, and I'm going to bet on just more talent here. I'm just trying to pull some of the numbers now as you were talking just to see some of the guys that are of late, what they've been up to and stuff. But there's not much else. So like Aberg, who you mentioned, Grillo, he's got a win recently. Putnam, I like who you mentioned there. Justin Suh, you talked about what I was going to say. It's interesting that in the PGA Championship and the US Open still showing up. We're talking about a guy that was in the original class sitting next to Morikawa, Hovland, and now Live Tour, maybe not Live Tour. Matthew Wolff got kicked off the Smash GC or he quit or something. So I'm not sure about him. And then Antonio just brought it up. Another guy I was going to mention, Taylor Moore. Again, not the greatest stuff lately, but at the price, it's to me just betting on a talent that I think is actually okay here at 7,200. So I don't mind him. Bo Hostler, Sepp Straka, my guy Joey B. Bramlett are some of the other guys that I like. And then one last guy I want to talk about here that nobody's talked about yet, JT Poston. I don't know why people aren't talking about this guy. I guess when you look down, people are going to just see the miscut, the 38th and the miscut and go off of that. But we're all talking about Sahith last year coming in second and Sahith's the GOAT and all this stuff. And I definitely think he's a better golfer. But my point is Poston, second here last year, then won the John Deere. Side nugget, side narrative. Coming into this event last year, he'd finished miscut, 37th, miscut. Do you know what he's coming into this year, JT Poston Hoop? He's coming in
the same. I just pulled it up. Literally, I think the same as what you just said.
Gets cut. He's also, again, this is why I don't get some stuff in golf when people talk about it all the time. Like they have this narrative. I'm probably guilty of it myself. I won't lie, but I'm just saying like it's just because you don't think about it or remember it. But when I do, I try and piece it together and give the information out. We talk about Tom Kim at the winning the Wyndham and how important that, and that you can compare that and bring it over. JT Poston won the Wyndham, bogey free, by the way. So, just an example where we make up things for other guys. Thigala, so good here last year. Well, so was Poston, second. Oh, but so-and-so was playing better when they came in. Poston sucked coming in, came second. He sucked coming in this year. Why can't he do it again? So, to me, I think he's pretty interesting at 7,000, right down there at the bottom. And if he's your last guy in or your second last guy in, I'll get to that in a second. I got no problem with it. So I actually like him a little bit this week as well. But 6K range Hoop, there is a lot of guys, I think, from 67 to 69. We can talk about that there. But after that, you're picking and choosing your spots. There is some names, but just go ahead. You take us through the 6K range. Who are some of the guys you're on here?
The first guy, Mark Hubbard, just I've been on him the last few weeks. He's been playing very solid golf. Very, very solid. 6.9K. I think he could definitely be in the 7K range. Love Hubbard. Lee Hodges, another guy playing really well. I mean, 4 straight made cuts, 29th, 12th, 25th at the Canadian Open, 6.9K. Definitely solid. Michael Kim, I'll play a little bit of him. Results have kind of been all over, but does have 2 really solid finishes. The Wells Fargo 7th and Charles Schwab 6th. Not, big ownership on him by any means, but I think he's a play here. Hayden Buckley at 6.8K. Results have not been great for him. I mean, his ownership should be really, really low. I always mention my guy, Mr. Neesmith at 6.8K. Starting to get it back on track a little bit. Missed the cut at the Memorial. I'm fine going back to him here. Hopefully makes a cut. And, he's a guy that if he makes a cut, he can finish top 20. Ches Reavie, someone talked about him earlier. He's actually, I believe he's had some success here. He's made 4 cuts in a row, 6.7K. Yeah, sure. Play a little bit of him.
He's won here 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay,
8th last year, winner 4 years ago for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a play. I think we can get on him a little bit. It does drop off. Another name, 6'6", that I do like quite a bit, Andrew Novak. He's made like 7 cuts in a row. Mostly at weaker field events, but at 6'6", like I'll take my chances on him, see what he can do for us this week. And then my guy Carson Young, I'm going to play a little bit of him, 6.5K, maybe Lipsky at 6.5K. Robbie Shelton down here at 6'4". There's a lot of options. I mean, this will be, in our content, the guys that we're really truly playing down here. But I think, 10-ish guys could potentially be in my player pool under 7K.
I think there's definitely guys worth using. Again, how it will shake out, I'm not sure, but I don't even classify the 6,700 and up range as the 6K range. Well, obviously it is, and factually it is. I just don't care. Like, they all could be, like, if JJ Spawn was 7,200, I wouldn't blink. If Lee Hodges was 7,200, Mark Hubbard, any of those guys, it just wouldn't phase me at all. They probably should be in some cases, and there's some swaps that you could sit down and pick apart and say this is this, but I just don't care. I don't even classify them, and that's why when someone asks about your player pool size or how many 6K guys will you use, I can tell you from this week, like, there's enough in there, but it's not really a number that I set because I don't really classify it by that when I get down here. Hodges, you talked about, looks like Eric Cole for cheaper. So if you want to play it from that perspective, he's basically the same results, the same guy.
Always have to take a shot at Cole. You can't resist.
He's actually resist. Fine. I like Cole too. Good attitude. Good attitude out there on the course. Nice guy. The Gim Reaper. I like Doug down here. I like your Buckley call. Neesmith, I always play courses like this, just fairways, greens, and can he make the putts? I think that's fine. Our guy Jason mentioned earlier about Thorbjornsen. You got to give him a talent bump to get him in because it'll want to, like, optimizers or sites that will want to play the Reeves and the other guys around him. The stat sites like Fantasy National will want to play Ben Martin in this spot. But I'm going to go back to my other guy, Nick Hardy. I've talked about this guy plenty in the past, Hoop. He actually, let me pull him up here. I got to see this. I had it before. It's really solid, though. So he won the team event with Davis Riley, who's also right there, I think at like 6,900. But just to note, came 8th tier last year, came 20th last week at the U.S. Open, following up a top 10 performance the year before at the U.S. Open. So I think Nick Hardy is back. And I think this is a guy that he had an injury. He came back. He started playing really good last year, had a little bit of a lull, came back, got a team win, which no one will give him credit for. But in general, I'm okay with Nick Hardy. So at 6,700, I like him. People like Dylan Wu last week at 6,400. What did he end up finishing? I was just trying to see how his round ended up.
Yeah, he fell apart on Sunday. I had actually a pretty decent team in the Millie Maker with him, and
32nd. Yeah. 32nd. I mean, he wasn't as bad as Sam Bennett, so you can give him that. Another shot we'll chime in there right with. So Dylan Wu, if you want to go back, I always play some David Lipsky. Again, I don't know if I'm playing all these guys just to give you guys some guys to consider. Scott Stallings, someone brought up earlier. How much is he this week? 6,400, right? So Scott Stallings. All missed cuts would be a pure course history play, 8th and 6th, but pops a little bit even in the long-term stuff. So not playing good golf at all right now. So not someone I'm high on there. Lucas Glover had a 20th a couple weeks ago, so I wouldn't hate that. And then the only other guy down here, I guess, to mention, my guy Ryan Baroff actually brought him up. I think he was talking to Sky, and Sky mentioned him as well. Skyhook DFS on Twitter. But Benjamin James, 6,100, amateur, from the area, sponsors exemption, played it last year, shot a 72.69, basically just missed the cut. I think he missed it by a couple of strokes. But teammates with Ricky Castillo, who won over the weekend on the Corn Ferry Tour. Maybe he's a little bit motivated there from the area, all of that at 6,100. If you want to round out your lineup, I don't hate that. Antonio's talking about Carl Juan qualifying to get in. He's one of the 4 guys that just got added from the Monday Qs or whatever. So not someone I'm high on, but again, if you want to go there, I got no problem with it. I just not the guys I'm on down in this range. So definitely guys you can use. I think roster construction will be everything, Hoop, and I think that's going to be the big thing this week is how you go about setting up your rosters for these tournaments. There's a lot of good tournaments over on DraftKings as well, I should mention. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to get in, Hoop, before we get out of here? Top of the hour.
Yeah, fun event, obviously. I mean, loaded field. I mean, these events are, what PGA is all about. PGA DFS, it makes it fun. And we've got the big boys here. We got some cheap options that we like. It's going to be a fun, dynamic slate. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, if you guys want more, like I said, get in at SHIPITNation.com. Check it out. You can go over there and see. If you go there right now, it's a free site to get on. You can check it out. Click PGA at the top. You'll see examples of everything that we do on the site that you'll get access to, but it's really try and make it easy for you. We talk about it all the time. The Discord is all about fun, education, getting better. It's not all the 1v1 questions of this guy versus that guy. I always put a stop to that as quickly as possible because there's just so many other dynamic factors that go into it, right? When you're building a lineup, I don't know, like a chalk play could be fine if you've got no other guys in it that are, and you're using them as your separation or anything like that. So, and if you want our favorite plays, I mean, you've been asking all day, video games, get on over to the site. That's the whole point. The site has it. We've got our core report, 3 of our main plays that we're using either in a single entry lineup or something, a main high dollar lineup is how I do it, or it's your player pool that's surrounded with that. Hoop does his player pool with his top 30 plays, puts his actual exposure ranges. So if you are just in a bind or need something quick, it's right there for you. Cash game stuff, if you want to get on the cash games, we've got our tier rankings with our favorite 2 plays actually in every tier, even the 6K range, the 10K and above. We put a 1 and 2 on every range, and then we put our winner and our long shot from a betting perspective. Just a lot of good stuff going on over there. My slate plan will break down talking about FanDuel cores, things that you can do differently between the sites, single entry, 3 max, some of the ranges you may want to consider skipping and guys you want to look over. So that's the real premium content. We also have MLB tools, projections going on right now. We just added Titletown. So we've got MMA going on right now where he's got his slate plan, the similar breakdown to PGA for that. We've got PGA projections coming, MMA projections coming, all the stuff that you guys would be looking for over at the site. So check it out, SHIPITNation.com, $59 a month or $5.99 for the annual. The annual gets you $49 a month. So our original price that will never come back, that was 1 week only, this is your last chance to get that because at $5.99, that gets you the $49 and everything locks in. There is no 1 month only. There is no code required. There's no nothing. You're locked in at these prices. You don't have to worry about everything. Our goal is to get you as much of the content, education, everything you could possibly be asking for to help you get better. As the slogan says, when you go to the website, everything you need to have success with DFS. It's all there. It's all how you want to use it, but the support system is there as well between the other members and then people like Hoop, myself, and the other members of our team right on the site that can help you guys through with everything you need. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it!